Someone didn't remember.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I was like, I'm
How could you
I'm
not
6'10".
remember me?
How did you forget? But
welcome to Tall Stories. This time we've got the pleasure of sitting down with one of the best known faces in UK basketball. Glasgow Rock, GB team captain, London 2012 Olympian, Sky Sports pundit, FIBA representative and MBE, Mr. Kieron Achara. Thanks for coming today.
thanks for creating my LinkedIn bio there. I appreciate it.
I hope I didn't miss anything out, did I? Okay, so did you find basketball because of your height, or was it something that interested you in any way?
Good question. So I always say that basketball found me. Growing up in Scotland, basketball wasn't really something that was super popular. I'd enjoyed it in PE, but I was saying that it wasn't the basketball per se that I loved about the sport. It was actually the fact that I could embrace being tall. It was advantageous in that situation, and I was quickly could see that I could be good in it, and more importantly, I was more accepted that people wanted to pick me for their teams, be this, be that, which changed it was an emotional connection I think I had to the game for that. Yeah. So once I realised there was potential within that space, it changed everything about the sport. And I guess I say that because I love basketball, but it maybe could have been any other sport if it was exactly the same kind of situation because of the way it made me feel. Yeah,
your height's had a massive impact on that game, presumably, has it?
Yeah, and again, I would hate to think it was the only reason that I've made it in basketball, but it definitely was a head start. You know, it's tall privilege in the sport that you have the potential that you have in that space is heightened, no pun intended. But yeah, so for me, it was just I always talk about embracing your uniqueness. Yeah, it allowed me to be me and my authentic me, and the sport was it just married up perfectly with that.
What age were you when you started playing basketball?
I was quite late, so I started playing basketball for like PE and everything else, but playing for the school team, I was like 14, 15, so it was really late, and things happened really fast for me in that space, but I was always quite sporty, but then I realised that basketball I had ultimate potential in that sport to achieve things that I would never have dreamed of outside of the sport.
And was 14, 15, was that around about a similar age? So when you realised that you were taller than most of your peers?
Always knew I was taller,
right.
And again, being tall at that stage, I was always different. Like I always joke about being, I'm just your average 6'10" black Scottish guy. Mm-hmm. I was very unique in that setting. Growing up, there was no one looked like me. No one was my height. So I kind of wanted to play small, play down. So I tried all different sports. Believe it or not, I did lawn bowls before I did basketball. Oh, wow. I tried fast cricket. I tried rugby, football. I just loved sport. I was always good at sport, but the basketball was the ultimate. Once I got into basketball, I quickly saw how good I became extremely fast. Mm-hmm. And obviously my height was a real advantage in that situation. So you marry that with coordination, speed, and the height. I had all the ingredients to be really, really good, and it was reiterated by the opportunities I was given quite quickly.
Yeah. Tell us about representing your country. It actually says here that you played against Kobe Bryant.
Yeah. So
tell us about
that. London 2012. We played some friendly games before the Olympics, and we got to compete against Team USA. And I guess the realisation when you line up against Team USA in Manchester, sold out, great atmosphere, and you're looking at Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Anthony Davis was there at the time, Carmelo Anthony, it's all these superstars. And a lot of people have these NBA dreams. I never really had NBA dreams growing up. It was just something I just loved. Like I said, the emotional connection to the sport.
Yep.
I never really had this kind of high standard of where I should be at. But as you progress through your career, you start to think, oh, what if, and going against Team USA, and then you realise that there's levels to this game. They were phenomenal, they really were, and some amazing stories. We talk about Kobe Bryant there. after the game, we all went out that night in Manchester, and there was only 2 players that never went out from the USA team, and one was Kobe Bryant, and another one was Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis never went out because he was under the age of 21. So his coach said he's not going out, even though it was legal in the UK. And Kobe Bryant wasn't out because he was at the gym because he didn't like the way he played after they just beat us by 38 points. So it just shows you again when it talks about commitment and passion to the game. It was quite impressive to see.
Wow. Yeah, that's very impressive. Yeah. What is tall life like as an athlete who's played across the globe? Is traveling a struggle at 6'10"?
So I guess being a tall athlete, and I'll define the two. There's Kieron the athlete and Kieron the person. The athlete, the life was a little bit easier because everything was done for you. You know, we were very fortunate, and you don't appreciate it till you're actually out the system. You know, having the team managers, all the operations, making sure they were booking this, booking that.
Yeah.
And I think, again, when you look at funding streams for sports, when you're dealing with a lot of taller athletes, I think people neglect and don't understand the importance of the extra leg space, getting a proper bed that you can, you know, even if it's a double bed, so you can go diagonally and sleep in that fetal position, as opposed to just a single bed that your legs are hanging off.
Yeah.
So in the sporting world, I think we were really well looked after. There has been some instances that, you know, I'll give an example. When I was with Team Scotland, travelling to the Commonwealth Games, you know, flying to Australia, and they haven't considered extra leg space for us, even though we demanded it, and they just kind of left that. And I guess that was a lack of understanding. But specifically working in the basketball world, I think they quickly realised the importance of all these little things and how it can affect performance. So I think I was very lucky in that sense. Outside of the basketball world, that's where it gets tricky to navigate.
Fair enough. Tell us about being a pundit.
Being a pundit, it's weird because I've never seen myself as a pundit. Again, I played the sport. I loved the sport. I've got a lot of knowledge within the sport. I enjoyed the connection, still being able to work in that space. But it's not something that I see that defines me in a way. So I'm very fortunate to get some opportunity to still analyse basketball and still be a part of the sport. But at the same time, it can be quite stressful and strenuous too, because you start overthinking. What am I wearing? What too tall outfit am I wearing this week? And because people actually start to scrutinise just little things like that. So it's really quite an interesting balance between the fun and actually the pressure of trying to maybe making a mistake live on TV. Yeah,
fair. If you could change your height, would you, or are you fairly happy?
I'm fairly happy. Like I said, a complete acceptance. I would maybe dabble in the 7 foot category because I think some people are disappointed.
You go taller, would you?
I think some people are disappointed when they find out I'm not 7 foot. It's like I failed. Like I said, blame my parents. Like 6'10", it's acceptable, right? They're like, oh, I thought you were 7 foot. Like, but I love who I am, and I can say that now. It's quite hypocritical because I haven't always loved who I am.
Okay.
But it is a process, and I am completely accepting of my 6'9" and 3/4 or 6'10" or however you want to define me.
The next question is your height what you think makes you unique? But I personally, I don't think it is. But what would you say is it that makes you unique?
I think my height plays a critical role in that. And again, I've spoken about this around the embracing your uniqueness and who you are. I think that's a journey that a lot of people have to go on because they're always comparing and contrasting to other things that they actually never look inwards and saying, like, what makes me unique?
Yeah.
My height is definitely one of those things. Like I always say, I'm a human icebreaker. I walk into the room, people tend to, remember me and know who I am. But it's not the only thing that defines me. It's a culmination of things. So I think I'm very well travelled. From that, I've got a lot of open mind, quite empathetic and understanding of different situations. But again, I like to think that a lot of that is because of basketball. And if I wasn't my height, I'd never know if I would have made it in basketball or even taken up those opportunities. So my height is obviously play a critical role, but I don't think it's the only thing that makes me unique in who I am.
You just said about like how you came into basketball, but like we didn't actually touch on that, like how it actually came about. How did it? Like,
So
I think with Chris Gregory on the last podcast, he said that there was like various different scouts looking for tall people, and that's how he fell into volleyball. But like, was that the same for basketball, or how?
not at all. So for me, again, it was started at my school. I went to Stirling High School, and we had a very passionate sixth year pupil at the time called Neil Connell, who you're talking about scouts. He was like, "Why don't you come along to the school team?" Knows I'm decent at PE.
Yeah.
And joined the school team, and we went on and won the Scottish Cup that year. And literally, that's how my journey started. So then there was the scouting from that. They were trying to get me to join a club. I was a little bit hesitant about joining a club because it was just me having a laugh with my friends. And I went into the club system at Falkirk Fury through Neil's dad, the late great George Connell. And so it just started there, and it all transpired really quickly that I was offered an opportunity to go to a camp in the States for basketball. And I remember being at that camp, and a coach put his arm around my shoulder and said, "Son, if you work really hard, you could get a scholarship." And that was literally a light bulb moment. It just changed absolutely everything for me. It went from just being fun, having a laugh, to this could be something I could pursue. Mm-hmm. And then that's it. I went on that journey, and thankfully that it paid off. I ended up getting that scholarship.
Cool. And Mike Tuck was part of that camp as well, was he?
Yeah, so Team Too Tall Mike Tuck. We went to, for the back end of that, with the scholarship, there was a little bit of the journey. I ended up doing a year in high school in the States because I hadn't done my American testing, they called the SAT.
Okay.
And that's where I met Mike Tuck, and he ended up, so we were at the same high school for a year and got to play against each other. And then he went on and got a scholarship to Loyola Maryland. I was playing at Duquesne University, and we got to play each other even in university as well. So again, you talk about coincidence. He ends up in the UK, I come back, and we've known each other since what that be 2002, 2003. Yeah,
who would beat each other in a shootout?
In a shootout.
Yeah.
So
we can cut this.
I'm not sure, but I would win.
Okay, it'll be interesting to see what Mike says about that. Yeah. Is there anything that you don't like about your height?
No, but again, this is it sounds hypocritical, because if you'd asked me that at 18 years old, there's a lot of things. Yeah. You know, like I said, I talk about being a human icebreaker. That can be a gift and a curse, because on your night out, you can be very paranoid. Or examples of, if I go to watch a concert, or I'm at a football game or a basketball game, I am very self-conscious about blocking other people's views.
Right.
So where I sit, how I sit. So I do think that I'm very accepting of who I am, but I'm also trying to understand that.
Always aware of what others are thinking.
It's not as simple as me embracing me and I get to be who I want, because I also have to be mindful of other people within that as well. And it's finding that balance. Mm-hmm. Because I think that being unapologetically you is a great thing, but at the same time, the reality is the world's not built for us. You know, they should be more accommodating to have us in there, but also we also have to understand that, you know, there's cost to a lot of these changes in lives as well. So it's finding a balance to work through that. So I would say that when I talk about my height, constantly being mindful of those things, that can be a little bit of a burden at times.
Tell us about meeting Princess Anne and your MBE.
Yeah.
Mike Tuck's not got an MBE, just throwing that out. But.
Very honoured to receive an MBE, and it was for my services to the community sport, which was nice, because it's like I love basketball, but there's no point in having a great career and doing everything if you're not willing to inspire a next generation or helping build to be better than what you've been a part of. So really honoured to have that. I in fact met Princess Anne previously. After the 2012 Olympic Games, I went to one of the Queen's garden parties at Buckingham Palace, as you do, and I met her there. So when I met her the second time from MB, I mentioned that, and clearly she didn't remember me, but pretended that she did. So it was kind of like, we've done this before.
Hey,
but
at least someone didn't remember.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I was like, I'm 6'10". How did you forget? But it was again really grateful, and I've actually seen her in other capacities working, and it's actually Princess Anna especially. It's actually amazing the amount of work that she actually does. Like sometimes you maybe think that it's just a face ambassador, but actually she's doing a lot on the ground as well. So it's again, I was very honoured, but now it's okay. Many of the athlete thinks like I do. Okay, what's next? What we're going to do next? There's never time to just say yes, this is great. Let's on to the next thing.
Another question is like, do you feel sometimes people just see you as the tall guy, but there's probably a lot of tall guys in sort of your industry, isn't there? So maybe
I'm used to being around so many tall guys, but again, I look at the piecing it all together. Being the tall black Scottish guy, it's very unique in that space. So even when I was in the States with a lot of people who were my height, looked like me, there was my Scottishness that had that. When I was in the UK or in Scotland, my blackness was a pivotal. Even when I was playing with taller people, so there's always been something that makes me feel a little bit different from most. But it's funny because I am very much in a world that I'm around tall people a lot. Like it's not something that's different for me. When I've got a lot of tall friends who are actually not used to being around other tall people on a regular basis. So again, a completely different frame of reference from myself.
What's the weirdest thing that someone's said about your height?
I don't see any of it as weird anymore. So it's all a blur because I'm so used to being asked certain things. The usual, it's always around how you sleep. I think that's one of the it's like you can see them actually trying to decipher and trying to work out how do you actually sleep. And I'm just like in a bed kind of thing. Like, so I think that it's actually not the weird things they say. It's when you answer, they're not accepting of your answer. They need to know more. Like it's just that's not enough. That's not normal. I need to delve a little bit deeper. So I don't think there's many weird things that said to me. It's more about the constant questioning. Like it's not enough just to say that, I just have a regular bed. Like, no, that's not accepting of that. It needs to go further than that.
And do you have a regular bed, or do you?
I have a regular bed, but again, I think I've adapted to. I sleep in the fetal position.
Suck it up and get on with it.
It's just what I do.
Yeah, absolutely fair. That's a very positive way to get on with life, I suppose. What advice would you give to your younger self, or someone young, maybe 16 at the moment, who's realised they're taller than average?
So I guess going back to what I was saying earlier, it was embracing that uniqueness. Like stop thinking about the negatives, think about the positives in that, and literally live those positives. Like use those positives to your advantage. And I was saying, if you can find a way to navigate through that situation, obviously there's going to be awkwardness at times, and that's accepting of understanding of that. But you are amazing. You are unique, and actually the percentages show that you're unique in that sense. Embrace it.
Tell us about being a motivational speaker. Is that what you're doing now? I
like to say I'm a speaker. The motivation becomes, because if I put the pressure of actually having to motivate people, that changes things. But I love doing talks, and again, it's not the talk itself; it's the connection of trying to help. And I think that authenticity, as you can tell, I'm a speaker, can kind of shine through, because I think that a lot of people can say this and do that, but if it's not coming from the heart, if it's not genuinely from a place of helping others, I think it just doesn't work. So I think I've kind of fallen into that space. Again, it's not been something that was designed; it's just happened. Because of the ability of wanting to help others, and I guess it's kind of helping people with that apathy that a lot of people face, that they just can't achieve anything, when the reality is we all have the power to do things. I can't say what they're going to be exactly, but everyone has a purpose, and everyone can utilize that to the best of their abilities.
What kind of events are you speaking at?
Multiple events. So from corporate events to schools. I always say that the schools is something that I have a real passion project around. But the thing I've realised in life, that no matter where I've spoken, so if it's a corporate or delivering at TikTok or whatever it may be, see me name drop in there.
Yeah.
The ability for people to the willingness to want to learn. And one of the key indicators that I've noticed shining through that is there is a lot of people, no matter where they are in life or no matter what their title is, that imposter syndrome is there. And they just need constant reminder of that they are, worthy of certain things. And I'm talking about the younger generation now. I do a lot of work with resilience, but I wholeheartedly believe that resilience means nothing if you don't have belief in the first instance. Resilience is the byproduct of belief.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to strip it back a little bit to stop thinking about resilience and overcoming tough times, to actually think about just believing in yourself in the first instance. And that comes through, self-talk, it comes through, emotional support, it comes through work, putting in the work. That's if you talk about building confidence, the only way you're going to do that is learning through failure, learning through those mistakes, and having the ability to actually just go up and try.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at this moment in time.
If we go all the way back to 15, 16, what was it like shopping for clothes that fit before Too Tall?
You know what? It's
probably better asking one of your folks, are we?
Yeah, but it was. I remember, like I said, that you just accepted things. I was very quite easy-ozy in that sense, that it just doesn't fit, or I'm just going to wear shorts,
Mm-hmm.
or at the time it was it East Bay that they had in the States, and you were
Mm-hmm.
sending for all this stuff in America, and the big and tall stuff that was just kind of hanging off you.
Mm-hmm.
I was very good to find some people who could, do a lot of alterations and put things in, but it was just a struggle. And I don't know if it's a gift and a curse again from a Too Tall, because it's now convenient. And the thing is, what I'm realizing is that you have less money because now you can buy things. So yeah, it's great. Like I said, I love that that existed. It has made it a lot easier for a lot of people, and more importantly, it's created communities that you didn't even know existed.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have people that you can go and ask questions for, or talk about fits, or actually you can actually think about style. Before it was just accept what you can get.
Yeah.
Now you can actually start thinking, what does my wardrobe look like?
About the fashion aspect. Yeah.
So it's a great problem to have, I guess. But yeah, just very thankful that Too Tall does exist.
Do you ever get compliments on your clothes?
Yes, and again, the being on TV at times too. I was saying that I talk about how I love it. The compliments do come, but then when you get the compliments, then you're like, okay, I need to match that the following week. So it's finding that balance. I always love when the parents are coming up to me, especially younger, saying, where did you get this from? Or where did you, it's a nice feeling. You can actually provide them something that's an alternative that most can afford, as opposed to saying, well, my friend in the States shipped me this from, it's actually nice that there's a location that they can actually go to.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, I think we're just about to wrap up. I've got one more question for you, and that is, does your Audi have enough legroom?
My Audi has plenty of legroom.
Okay.
I would feel bad for the person behind me in the past, but for me, and this is, talk about giving advice, that is something you should look at. You should never look at the size of the car. You should look at to see how far the seat goes back.
And whether you want to take any passengers.
That is the true indicator of leg space in a car, is how far the seat goes back. Forget about having kids or anything in the back. As long as the seat goes all the way back, you're golden.
Okay. Thanks, Kieron. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.